Speaking of things that Eric likes, he immediately decided to like Pleasure. Why did you decide to actually give Pleasure almost a favorable review? Because why? Because of a certain moniker. Can you recap the director? Why did you love the movie so much right off the bat, Eric?
Well, Greg, I haven't reviewed this yet.
Oh,
We're just reviewing it. No, I absolutely did not review anything on cinematics because we weren't allowed to, but I can talk about it now.
oh, yes, Eric. I remember you saw this actually a couple of weeks ago. You saw this was one of the only movies you saw even before Bruce, right?
Yeah.
Regarding okay.
Well, I watched most of it before we recorded cinematics last week, and since we got done, I watched the rest of it. Oh man, I kind of want to. I mean, dude, I love this movie, but I want to hear what Bruce has to say and kind of hop on there.
Okay, so again,
I love this movie so much. I'm like, Bruce fucking hates this goddamn thing.
Okay, so this is the movie Pleasure. It's written and directed by Ninja Thyberg. And Ninja is just right off the bat, the name Ninja automatically, Eric Holmes is all about it because he loved the moniker Ninja. So obviously there is a bias working regarding Pleasure. Regarding biases, though, does the bias even count? Maybe this movie is just good because it's just an awesome movie. Well, it's a very simple story. It's a story of a Swedish girl, maybe in her late teens, early 20s. She moves from Europe all the way to the sunny, smog-filled confines of Los Angeles. I'm assuming specifically the San Fernando Valley, the porn capital of the world. She wants to become the next big porn star. Okay, so this girl, the Swedish girl, she's calling herself, what is she calling? I believe she's calling herself Bella Cherry. So and Bella Cherry is played by Sofia Kappel or Kappel. I don't know how to pronounce. I'm going to say Kappel, or she's great in this. She is seemingly a newbie. And here, speaking of newbies, a lot of the actors involved in Pleasure, I think most of them are current porn stars, former porn stars, or people who have worked in the adult entertainment business. So this is a very well-researched movie. Just on a documentary level, Ninja Thyberg did her research. That's a plus. And secondly, this movie is populated with people who've worked in the porn industry. And you're wondering, well, newbie actress in Sofia playing Bella Cherry, and then pretty much the entire ensemble are porn industry veterans. Will this movie work? And for some reason, I loved it. I loved every second of it. And it wasn't because of the sex, which is graphic, explicit. There's a point to it. I just thought this movie was really well done. To be honest, I thought it was just great performances. And I had no complaints. Loved it. We know what you think of it, Eric Holmes. Now the big mystery is, what does Bruce Purkey think of Pleasure?
I like it quite a bit. It's pretty darn good. So my first thought was, well, actually, I read a little trivia, which I thought was interesting. I guess originally this was slated to be released by A24 as an R-rated movie. Apparently, I don't know if the directors or who decided, but they said, nope, we can't do this. This needs to be unrated or rated NC-17 or whatever it is currently rated at. So that's why it got picked up by Neon. So I think, first of all, that was a good call. And I think what you're getting at too, Greg, is this is kind of, it's kind of a classic story, right? The country bumpkin that comes out to Hollywood to make it big, in this case it's porn, and doesn't really know what they're in for. That's kind of an age-old story. So what makes this different or not different? And I think what makes it different in my eyes is that a big part of this movie is, what is it like behind the scenes? Like, we start out, almost one of the first things we see is them going through, like, basically her contract. And like, hey, you're agreeing to this, right? Hey, show us, your ID. Okay. And this might happen. You're right. You're good with that. Cool. You're all right with that. They go through this whole list of stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is different already out of the gate. And then you're like, well, okay, is this going to go explicit or is it not going to go explicit? And then, unlike the Northman, within 15 minutes, we have many dongs. We have so many dongs in this movie.
Dongs for days.
Dongs for days. Yes.
Look out into the sunset. You see nothing but wiener.
So all of that being said, I think a big giant warning needs to be placed in front of people, because if you are at all triggered by explicitness, this is pretty darn explicit. It's not fully explicit, but it's right to the edge of that. And if you're at all triggered by non-consensual or somewhat non-consensual scenes being played in a very raw way, this could be really rough for some people. Because there is definitely a whole variety of experiences that she has. And I think, once again, the strength of this movie is showing her on different sets what that set is like. I'm assuming that they're somewhat realistic based on who's involved in this. And I don't know, but it seems like it is, how different her experiences are depending on the directors, the male directors versus the female directors, a rough scene versus a not rough scene, and her expectations and what happens. There's a lot going on in here. If I had one negative to it, for me, it's just I wanted more of her character. Her character to me was a little bit like, and I guess it's kind of to be expected. Her character is kind of basic. Like, she's there, she thinks she knows what she's getting into and she's ready for it. She doesn't quite know what she's getting into. She's not quite ready for it. But I didn't really exactly know where she was at all the way along, and I kind of wanted that. That's what would have tipped it over the greatness to me.
Do you think so? You feel that she was too much of a cipher ultimately?
A bit. I mean, I felt like we were just a slight arm's length away from her. Like, we knew some of the reasons she was there, but we didn't know how she really felt about it. I think at the end, we're kind of supposed to see how she's turned a little bit based on what she's experienced, and I understand that, but I kind of wanted to understand her character a little more fully. I didn't feel like I ever was quite let in on her.
That is fair. Eric Holmes, I'm assuming you might have loved this the most out of all of us.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Pleasure?
Actually, kind of the push back a little bit on what Bruce said. I saw her because she unlike movies like this, she doesn't go out to become a movie star. She goes out to become a porn star. That's correct. That's what it wasn't like, oh, I want to be in the movies, and then she fell into porn. That was her ambition. She wanted to be a porn star. Not only does she want to be a porn star, she wants to be the best porn star ever. And so that's kind of I think where her character is coming from. And a lot of her ambition is kind of what, like, they have that scene where the guys where they're really rough on her, and that kind of gives her a wake up call. And instead of quitting, her character's like, oh, I gotta toughen up. I gotta get in there and do it again until it becomes like a day job for me. Because that's what it takes to. It's like I'm going to be the best basketball player ever. I'm going to be the best wrestler ever. I'm going to be the best. This is like a sports movie, but the sport is her becoming a porn star. I had to take that dick. It was rough. It hurt, but you know what? I'm going to get on the horse and really give it my all next time. And it was such an odd version of this story. Because it's hard. It's a sports story, but it's about porn. First of all, I didn't know those two genres could marry so well together. And then we can't talk about the end, but the end goes places because her character. Actually, you shouldn't say anything. You know what I'm talking about. I don't need to say anymore. But this goes places, and it's the movie. I could tell the movie's saying something that I wasn't expecting it to go. And part of me really appreciated that at the time. Part of me was like, felt it was a bit of a cop out. And then I thought on it some more. I'm like, no, that's probably the way you got to go. And this is just kind of one of those movies. Like, my brain was all over the place on it. I think it is a character piece. It's a great movie. It's really similar to, I mentioned Boogie Nights. It's really similar to Boogie Nights. I think there's a lot of humor in this. That's probably not, when you have the scenes with the, so she does a scene back to Bruce's trigger warning. There's a scene where she basically does a rape scene, with 3 guys, and it's really weird watching that scene. But I think that's going to be tough for some people to watch because they'd be like spitting in her face and jerking off on her and smacking her, and it's really rough to watch. And then she starts crying, and then cut, stop. Oh, are you okay? And then like just like that, they change on a dime, and then we can stop whenever you want. And some people mean that. Some people say that because they need to say that. And that's kind of what would you call it? That's a illuminating kind of truth. I think this has to it. You can stop. I told them they could stop whenever they want, and they wanted to keep going. It's like, well, did you? You weren't prodding them at all, even a little bit. And so, but not all of them are like that. There are some people that are, at least on the surface, they seem to be genuine. And this didn't feel like a movie that had didn't feel like it was trying to be an expose on porn.
Right.
But it wasn't gonna let it off the hook either. It was pretty much everything I love about Aaron Sorkin. It took all the sides and was completely fair to all of them. And then when you get to the end, you make your decision. And the character made a decision, and whether that was right for them or not, or who knows, it's one of those things that you're going to watch it. And I think different people will come out with a different take on where that character goes, and I don't want to say any more about the end, but it's the ending wasn't immediately satisfying for me. But the more I'm thinking about it, like the more I sit on it, it's like that's kind of the only way you got to do that.
Were you guys surprised by just the ensemble cast, how natural they were? I mean, it's a lot of their job where they're experienced, and I thought that added to the overall quality of the film. Is that how you guys felt regarding the supporting actors?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if they were all porn actors or not, but I mean,
I looked a little bit, and they
genuine.
almost all seem to be. From what I'm finding, I found, they all pretty much are, except for, I think almost all of them. Even
almost all of them are.
Yeah.
One of the directors, the female director, she's a former porn star, Aiden Starr, and her friends are either former or retired porn stars as well. Everyone has worked in the industry, and even her friend, her black friend, who's really nice to her. I don't even know if he's still working, but he's been in the business as well, and he's great in this. As far as the comedic element, he ends up being a really good friend and trusted sort of advisor along the way too. Eric Holmes. Yes.
One thing I mentioned it before, and I want to really stress on this, because one of the things I absolutely love about this is that the movie doesn't judge the people for wanting to be in porn, and the characters don't really give a shit. They're like, this is what I want, and if anyone tries to give them shit, they're like, fuck off. this is what I do. And so that part I really appreciated, that that someone can, hey, I want to be in porn, this is my ambition, and that's okay. If that's something you want to do, you shouldn't be judged for that. Granted, stuff happens and she runs into other people that are pieces of shit, but that's not basically in those positions. She should be able to do a scene with other porn actors that are acting professionally. If things get too hot, stop. They do everything above board. And I shoot, now that I think of it, maybe that's a part. Maybe the porn industry is inherently prone to. I mean, Hollywood's prone to perverts. I mean, look at Greg will cut out all the names I say, but you know the names.
Yes. Look
at
Harvey Weinstein.
It only stands to reason that those kind of people exist in the porn world as well. But I do like that I don't think that the movie or a lot of the characters in it judge the people for wanting to be a porn star. And if they did judge them, the characters were confident enough that they were just like, fucking kick rocks. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And I think to expand on what you're saying really quick, the idea is most movies, if they present the version of what the porn industry is like, they present it one way or another. They present it as an all of one thing. And the one thing this movie does really, really well, whether you like it or not, or whether you think whatever you think about it, is it doesn't present a single version of the porn industry experience. It basically is saying it's like acting, or it's like any other job, or it's like life in general. There are assholes. There are people that are going to be fair and square with you. There are going to be people that are going to look out for you. There are going to be people that are going to backstab you. And there are people that are going to use you. I mean, that's just life. And I think that is something I've never quite seen as a presentation of the porn industry in movies like this.
I think also to put a button on it, let's say you're working, we'll just say you're working at Burger King, and you go there and your boss is sexually harassing you, giving you overworking you, underworking you, whatever it is. The boss is basically being a dickhead to you. You quit your job at Burger King and you tell your friends about it, and they usually say, oh, what a dickhead, I would have left too. All that exact same stuff happens, and you're a porn star. It's like, well, what did you expect? You're doing porn. It's
right.
Everything the same except for the job position that you hold. One version of it, people understand. Another version of it, you had that coming to you. And I just really want to put a button on that, because I think the movie was really good about not judging the characters in that way.
Again, written and directed by Ninja Thyberg. It's Pleasure. Pleasure is headlined by Sofia Kappel or however you pronounce her name. She's excellent in this movie. Co-starring Evelyn Clare, very good. Dana Diarmond, Kendra Spade, Jason Toller. All of these are very, very good in this movie. Aformentioned Aiden Starr. Just a laundry list of porn veterans, and they're all very good in this movie. Also, I want to put a button, Eric, on the fact that this is not an exploitative movie as well, and it doesn't feel salacious, even though the subject matter might be deemed
graphic,
as
for sure.
It's
but
graphic,
yeah,
but
it's
it doesn't. It's not graphic for lustful or salacious purposes. It's graphic because it feels like a documentary at times.
They're shooting porn.
Yeah.
It's going to show things.
And it's funny because it's purposely. Oh my God, we're just going on and again. It's
I'm
purposely.
fine with it. We can go on longer if
It's
you want.
purposely graphic more with the men than it is with the women, which I think is refreshing as well. I don't know why my camera keeps going off, but whatever.
Yeah. Your camera's in and out.
In and out.
No
Yes.
Just keeps letting his nip slip. So
Yeah, there you go.
you
So
want to put some tape over there.
anyways, Pleasure for me, 4.5 stars for Pleasure for me. I was thinking 4 stars, but it's a 4.5 star for me. Eric Holmes, what is your rating on Pleasure?
I was going to give this the 6.9, but it seems reductive to say that, so I'll just say 5-star.
5 stars for Eric Holmes.
But really, this is a 6.9. But
Okay.
for this one, I can't do it because this movie is so good that I feel that if I do that, I'm playing into the joke. And I really love this movie.
Bruce, your rating on Pleasure?
I will probably go 4 stars. I wanted a little more from the character, but other than that, it's pretty darn good.